Hey, we're back at Home Built Garage. Today we're working on a skid steer. It is a New Holland L555 and it has lift cylinders leaking pretty badly. Alright, as you can see, we have oil leaking everywhere. It's leaking all down the whole lift arm. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and bust this loose before I do anything. That way it's still mounted tight both ends, and that can tend to be pretty tight. So I'm going to go ahead and bust that loose. I have a chain wrench that I'm going to use. You could probably use a pipe wrench if you had a big one and maybe put a pipe on the end of it. These just screw right in there. But once I get it broke loose, then I'll go ahead and take the fitting off there. Fitting off down there. Bolt, pull that pin out. And I'll run the cylinder down in by hand. Flip this forward, just lay it right across here. Then pull it out. Because everything you're going to need to repack is going to be that head there. And then on the cylinder, on the head on the end of it. So we're going to get started here. So it is worth stating, this machine is actually equipped with safety pins, has one on each side. I went ahead, raised it, locked them in. So this isn't going to fall down. And once I did that, I went ahead and released the pressure by just letting it go float down. So there shouldn't be much pressure, if any, in the cylinder. I went ahead, broke this loose. So I'm going to leave it in there. I'm going to take the bolt out, or one bolt out on the top, pull that pin out, slide this cylinder down in. I'll have to remove both fittings first before then it'll slide it down in easier. Then I'll flip it forward. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time underneath this thing, but the amount of time I'll spend just flipping this forward, pulling it all out, is pretty minimal. But pieces their own. Do it how you like. Alright, just like that, cylinder's out. The nut on the top, I'll knock that loose and pull the piston off, and then I can pull the head off. Alright, just like that, you get your piston, there's a seal on there, and a Teflon on there, and then concave side goes in towards your cylinder. Then you get the head, and the head has seals inside. And on mine, that's what was leaking. I wasn't really drifting off, lifting or anything. You see a busted up chunk of seal just fell out. It's pretty crappy in there. They're gone. They're brittle, hard, coming apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and change these out. Okay, so now I'm just using a regular seal pick. I'm gonna go ahead and knock these things out. And after I do that, I'll take and clean them up. It's memory cloth. If you had a wire wheel that would fit in there just right, it'd work great. I don't have one that small. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean them out with a seal pick. Get all the rust out of there best I can. Which there shouldn't be a lot in there, but there always is some. But yeah, look at them seals coming out. That's what they're coming out like, just completely junk. That's what's left of my seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish cleaning this up, put the new seals in, and we'll go put it back together. Alright, so I got this cleaned up best I could with what I had. Used screwdriver, seal pick. It's not great by any means. If I had a small wire wheel on a Dremel that could fit in there and clean up, that'd be great. Also, there's a seal on here. Took that off. Here's your new seal. I'm going to go ahead and slip these on. Now, one is going to be the outside. It just puts right over the outside here. Okay, so once I got that seal on there, I actually kind of rolled it as it went on. So what I'm going to do is take a seal pick behind it, like this, and work it around. And what that'll do is help it twist back if there's any twists in it. That way you don't have a rolled seal and have issues with it later. As you can see, the taper and the lip on there, that taper lip on the right side goes towards the inside, so it would be the right side on here. So it'll fit in there just like that. Now, you can do this either way. You can probably come in this way or come in through this way. I'm just going to take the shorter distance, try doing it this way. These things are very tight and a pain in the butt, so be sure not to tear them. I don't know that I'm going to really be able to record all this because it is a pain in the butt. But anyways, they'll go in right like that. I might actually try it this way on this one. I did the other one the other way, and I cut the first seal trying to get it in there. So this way might be a little easier. But you kind of just take it, squish it like that, grab the inside of that finger, pull it into the seal ring slot down on the bottom, and work it down in. It's definitely not the easiest part of this job, but it's not too bad. It wouldn't help if it was a little warmer out. The parts were warm, but it's what I'm working with. So it's also worth noting, I just had this come apart, but this is actually, I can't get the focus, but it's actually a two-piece seal. So you can just put this right back in, and you kind of, I don't know if you can hear it, but it kind of snaps right back into place. So if that does happen, it's not really a big deal. Just put it back into place, try again. Okay, I don't know, it's going to be hard to get to see, but you can see how it's not really in place perfect there. I'm just going to slowly work it in with this seal pick, making sure not to cut it. You got to be really careful at this point. Get it down in there almost the whole way, and it focuses a little better. And you can see how it's just barely sticking out. You got to be real careful around the edge, work it into place, and then just be very careful you don't puncture or cut this seal. Otherwise, it's probably going to fail sooner than later. Might not leak right away, but it will eventually. Alright, just like that. Work it the rest of the way in. Alright, so now at this point you want to make sure you did it right. You got your lip sticking out on the top side, the threaded side. So your oil pressure is going to be on this side trying to get out, and it can't because it hits the lip. If you had it the other way, it likely would slip right past. You can try to run your finger across that way, but coming in this way, you feel the lip. This way, you really don't. All right, now next one is this one. It's going to go in right like this. You can kind of tell. I'm trying to get this thing to focus for you guys. There's taper right there on that seal. You can kind of see it. That taper matches the taper inside here. So it's going to go on just like that with that lip facing out. And this one's a little easier to get in usually. I've tried lubing these before I put them in. The problem with that is it just makes it a lot slippier to grab a hold of. So they are a pain in the butt. You kind of got to fight with them. But that outer one's pretty easy, just like that it's in. So at this point, this is ready to slide over the shaft, over the cylinder. Lube it up real good. Vaseline, hydraulic oil, power steering fluid, whatever. And then work it down over. So next is this guy. This one, Teflon comes right off pretty easily. Usually. There'll be a cut in them. Most of them. I've seen some equipment that doesn't. I don't know if these ones ever run that way. This one in particular does not have a solid. It has this cut one. So you gotta get in there, try to get a hold of it. And I just went ahead and broke that one. No need to worry about saving it. It's junk. The one I have, there's no direction on this, so it's smooth the whole way across. The new one will be the same. Go ahead and pull this seal off. I might have to cut this one. I think the last time I did one, I had to cut it to get it off. I'm trying to do this without poking my finger or damaging this piston. This piston is actually only aluminum, so you got to be careful and mindful of that because you don't want to screw that up. just like that. That one's off. All right, so now we got the new Teflon. It'll go on there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this seal on first because this one's a little bit more of a pain in the butt to get on. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna even be able to record all of it because last time it was very tight. This one might not be because it did warm up a little bit. This is actually, you can't see it, but this is an SKF seal. I did buy this on eBay, I think. Fairly cheap. I think it was only like $30-some. The originals were quite a bit more. I think they were somewhere around I don't know, 60, almost double. But I'm going to take the seal, get it on that side, and just work it around. And it can be tight and a pain in the butt, but all right. So I did it by hand. I mean, you could probably use a seal pick or something if you wanted to try it, but you gotta be careful not to stab yourself with them. So, anyways, that's on. This one I don't believe is directional. By looking at the old one and the new one, they look to be pretty much the same on both sides. So that's on. Teflon, once again, I don't believe is directional either. And being it's nice and new, it just goes right on, no problems. So I'll go ahead and mount this back up to the cylinder after you put the head on. So this is the piston. The other piece I did with seals is the head. It's got to go on first. All right, so I went ahead and got this greased up. Greased up the inside. And it's going to go on right like that. And you'll kind of get it on there and just kind of work it around nice and easy. Make sure it don't grab real hard. And just like that, slides right over. Work it back and forth. Should be snug, but not to where you can't move it by hand. Another thing you can look for is any lines that's creating. If it's creating a really distinguished line, you may have cut the seal. I don't see any, so go ahead and wipe the excess grease off there. And I'll slide the piston on. All right, so got the lock nut put back on. You want to make sure it doesn't just coast straight on there. If it does, you might want to put some Loctite on it, but this one gets tight right about there. That's where you want it. So just all together. One thing keep in mind, be careful. Sorry, I can't talk today. Be careful not to slam this around on any of these pieces. Cylinder, you don't want to score that up, and the threads, you don't want to bang them up. So keep in mind, you don't want to just be throwing this thing around. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but you can chuck that up in the vise. Obviously not crimping on the cylinder, crimping on outside. Or you could actually put it back up in the machine, run your pin through, and try to torque it that way. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. I'm not sure what the spec is on this, but I'm going to have to look up, try to find it. I'm not going to give the spec because I might find the wrong spec. Call your dealer. They should be able to tell you that. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up. All right, got it all lubed up. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of work it in there. Kind of wiggling around. Steady pressure on it. And just like that, it went in. Now start this head. Alright, I'm not going to spend too much time under that. I'm just going to this back up. So now that I got it mounted all back up, I'm going to go ahead and tighten my head back up. I got my fittings already on there. I got a clamp that I got to put on. Mine had a hose clamp around it. I don't know if that's correct. I kind of doubt it. So I'm going to look and see if there's a proper clamp I can buy for that. Anyways, go ahead and tighten the head up. I'm not sure if there is a procedure for bleeding air out of this. Honestly, I haven't looked yet. Probably be a good idea to take a look, make sure that it doesn't need some sort of bleeding procedure. I kind of doubt it, but be worth looking into. Show you guys the chain wrench that I'm using. This is the chain wrench. Works pretty slick. This is a cat one. Number looks to be an IU8792. But anyways, you could do it some other way, I'm sure. But this basically, you loop your chain around your cylinder like this, hook it in here, and then it grabs a hold. So in that particular position, you would be actually breaking it loose this way, turning this all counterclockwise. Works pretty slick. But anyways, I got this thing all buttoned up. I'm going to get out of here because it's dripping water like crazy on my floor, and I don't have drains in this place. So, all right, well, that's going to do it for the day. Got it all buttoned back up. We're going to go ahead and run it up down a couple times, get this thing out of my garage because it's running water everywhere. It snowed out, making a mess in here. So I'm going to get this thing out of here. Hope it helped you guys out. I'd appreciate it if you like, follow, and subscribe. Share it with a friend. But that's it for the day. Have a good one.